see beyond the horizon. You can. There's some things that aren't meant to be known.
Hey, good evening, everyone. We're back for episode 6, right?
Yes.
Episode 6 of the
That's a lot of
Arrow
episodes.
Panel. That's a lot of episodes. So we're here live at Zion Arcade in San Francisco. I'm your host, Buzzard, and this here is...
I'm Roger Clark, at Roger Clark on Twitter.
Are we doing me? Oh, Jeff Funga.
And we have a special guest with us this evening.
Hi, I'm Elaine, or Elaine Young. Oh, what is my tag? Rainies? Rainies is my DDR tag. Little bit about myself, my history with dance games. I think the first time I played DDR was in 1999.
Which that was the year before Y2K.
Yeah.
And
I have to bring it up.
And I didn't really know about scoring back then. I thought doing the knee drops on a standard butterfly was like
Hell yeah.
It was
the
pretty
coolest
cool.
thing ever. So I mean, I played it on and off, just like on. It wasn't called standard; it was called trick back then.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 2004 I saw somebody at Circus. Sorry, I'm from Las Vegas. Hi, Las Vegas. Oh, shout outs to Sharon who introduced me to DDR.
Ah.
In 2004, I saw somebody in Las Vegas play Max 300 and get a AA, and I didn't know AA was even a thing. So I started going there a bunch. I watched a bunch of people, kind of learned from them, watching their form and their footwork and stuff, and that's when I started scoring. Took a break for a while from frustration, and we can probably cover that later on about regarding progression, and played ITG2 for maybe a year and a half, and then just recently I got into DDR Ace, and I think in November was my first PFC, and since then I've just kind of been like playing consistently, and yeah, so.
That's great. This is why we had Elaine on, is because tonight's episode is all about just getting better and improvement. And so Elaine's been getting a lot better lately, and I think she's at a stage in her DDR life where she has a lot of useful information to share, and probably can relate to quite a lot of our audience too.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming on. Really appreciate you being
Thanks
here.
for inviting me.
So we're going to start off with some news. So lots more tournaments coming up. This weekend, Irvine, Dave & Buster's, August 5th actually, so Saturday.
We're going to be there.
We're going to be there. It's a DDR Ace tournament in Irvine, California, at the Dave & Buster's in the Irvine Spectrum.
Yep.
Yeah, if you're in the LA area, come by and say hello.
Yes,
Yeah.
Definitely.
And enter the tournament.
Enter the tournament, yeah.
That too.
And so that's coming up this weekend. Another thing that's happening this weekend is Girl Apocalypse, which is an all-girls ITG tournament, right?
Yes.
Yes, there
And-
are 10 girls that are competing, and it's in like timing, stamina, and something else. Foot speed.
Foot speed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they have girls from like France and Chile and all across the U.S.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So if you guys want to watch, twitch.tv.
Yeah, twitch.tv/girlsapocalypse. So that's girls with an S.
Yes.
And yeah, and that's going to be here in San Francisco. So after that, there's Oh, actually, I guess Sunday, right? Another DDR Ace tournament in Orland Park, Illinois, hosted by Alessandro T_B on Twitter. And so that's August 6th in Orland Park, Illinois. So go check it out.
Yeah, a lot of stuff going on soon.
And there's also a Prime 2, Pump It Up Prime 2, International Pump Fest 2017. That's going to be August 19th to the 20th at Strikes Unlimited in Rocklin, California. That's near the Sacramento area. So go ahead and check that out. I think it's on the NorCal World Order Facebook group. Then, after that, if anybody's going to Mag West, which is here in the Bay Area somewhere, I think.
It says Santa Clara Convention
Santa Clara?
Center?
Yeah.
I think.
So Santa Clara Convention Center, Mag West, if you're going there. David Hua, who's organized a couple of tournaments here in the past, is running a doubles community social and tournament at Mag West. So go hang out there and compete in the tournament if you're really good at doubles, or even if you're not good at doubles, because we encourage people to play doubles as it is.
Watch our episode on doubles and then go to Mag West and talk to other people who like playing doubles.
Yeah, totally. All right, so that's it for tournaments. In other news, we have more things to talk about with Renon's Adventure Part 3, which there's some new information that came to light recently. Someone on the couch has made history and has been the first person to pass Ace for Aces on difficult.
Right.
And so tell us what that was like. So there was a period of time where Fefems, Rettery, and you, and any other American players were racing?
No, it was pretty much just the three of us. So how it worked was basically Fefems and Rettery. So everyone knows Fefems, like the best player in Korea. But Rettery is actually he's got like 200 MFCs, a very, very good player, very knowledgeable.
He's really good. Also
like trilingual, which is amazing to me. So like I get to talk to him on Twitter every now and then.
Echospherics.
Yeah, it's at Echospherics on Twitter. And so they sort of like rented out an arcade from like 2 to 5 a.m. and like pumped a bunch of credits in the machine, and they were basically just trying to get to Endymion to play Ace for Aces. So Fefems would play Endymion and Rettery would like immediately fail out, but because he was playing on 3x and Fefems would play on like 1.25. And then if both of you have Endymion unlocked, or like you have the capability to play it, and one of you gets a 950k or above on Expert, then you get Ace for Aces, but both of you can get it. So even if one person fails, the other person can sort of leech off. So Rettery was trying to pass Ace for Aces on 3x because the song's only scrolling at like 200. So that's one of the things that sucks about going from Endymion to Ace for Aces. You have that weird speed change. And you can't change your speed mod at the beginning of the song like you normally can.
It's kind of a nice throwback to the way things used to be.
Yeah, it's like Dance Dance Revolution or Kakume, like back in Max 2, where you were like forced on 1.5x, which was like slow for, well, it's like fast at that time, but now it's like, 1.5 for 200, that's crazy.
Plus the sync of the song is actually really different.
Oh yeah, the sync is like wonky as hell. That's a whole other thing though. So basically, like they streamed this online. It was really awesome to watch. I was like watching at my computer, and they like made a lot of progress. Like Rettery actually got to like step 460 or something, like right at the stops at the very end. Spoilers for people who didn't see the chart yet. And so like I was watching and like taking notes, and I was like, I really want to be the first person to pass it. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the arcade and I'm gonna try to pass it. And we sort of like both hit a stalemate where like they were playing and streaming and they were getting tired because they like stopped between 5 and 7 a.m. because that's when the maintenance window is in Korea. And then they started playing again at 7 in the morning.
So they played throughout the night?
Yes.
Actually,
yeah, it's
yes.
crazy.
And like I was like feeling a little jealous because they were able to pump credits in the machine. I think they rented it, so there's some sort of deal. They know the text, but like I was like wasting credits to Dave & Buster's, just like failing egoism on normal play like 100 times just to get to Endymion again. And
while other people wanted to play.
Yeah, I was like, okay, like you guys please play Break Free on basic, and I will wait very patiently. Like, really want to first it. I hope they don't first it. So it was kind of stressful. And then we both like quit for a day. Like they got tired, I got tired, and then the next day I went back to the arcade and I passed it first try. Which was crazy.
So sleep on it. That's another.
Yeah, that's maybe an advanced technique, right? Just take a break. Well, I was getting like very tired at the end of my giant session.
It was really impressive watching Fefems just like play Endymion over and over again.
Like he PFC'd it like 8 times. I still can't do that. And
Chris just barely got it.
Yeah. And so it was really cool. Like, it was a race, and it felt really cool to be a part of something that was like really worldwide and global.
Yeah.
Because a bunch of people were trying to pass it. Everyone was sort of like sharing information, even though in a perfect world, like, you wouldn't share any information because that's like your competitive secrets. Like, you get to know what all the stops and gimmicks are when everyone else doesn't. But instead, everyone was just like sharing, like streaming, and I was trying to take videos and post them online as soon as I got further in Ace for Aces. So it felt nice that, like, even though I was the first person to do it, it was very much a collaborative effort between like some of the best players in Korea and like a player in the US. I don't know.
Yeah, I wonder what Konami was doing. Were they watching the whole thing?
Yeah, I don't know. It could be.
They're probably plugged into the DDR Twitter sphere. So
I think, I think Aaron has hinted that like some of us are followed by like Konami
secret
accounts.
Konami accounts.
Yeah, that are not.
My guess is that they did not expect anyone to pass it this quickly.
I don't know. Yeah, I think
it seems like they really designed the game for this to take a long time, and they probably did not expect.
So again, to bring it back to how Over the Period worked, which is how we got some of that. Like, we weren't able to participate in it necessarily, but in Japan and Korea for 2014, Over the Period was never passed on difficult, and it was also a 15. It's one of the hardest 15s.
Which personally for you, I remember you were very upset about that because that wasn't in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to like participate in it. And I thought it was a super cool event. Like, people getting, Dr. D especially was posting these videos and getting like, like no one could get past like the 26th step, and then all of a sudden someone did. Like, I think Dr. D did and got to like 90 steps. And I'm like, what? That's like 3 times as many steps. And so I'm like, I was freaking out and being like, wouldn't it be cool if I could participate in this, see if I could get far? And so I love that Ace for Aces was a thing, so that I could try to like show myself. I really wanted to be the first person to pass it, and luckily I was. And then what happens is really fun, where when you pass Ace for Aces difficult, you get Endymion Challenge unlocked. That was like the big reveal. The 19-footer. People were speculating, is it going to be a 20? Guess not. It's just a 19.
It's just a 19.
Yeah, on Life 4 difficulty, you still have to max out your heat meter, and you have to play it on an extra stage, and it drains all your heat meter. And I currently have a 350,000 on it, and I am not playing it anymore because
again.
I can't pass a 19 on Life 4. Like, I passed Egoism, and that's because I know the chart and I studied it a lot. And like,
I wonder if anyone will be able to do it.
It's very,
I mean, so far it looks pretty hard, and if it just keeps getting harder, which of course it will.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, Fefems or Chris might be able to do it if they studied it for a really long time.
Yeah. My money's on Chris right now. I know he was trying to PFC the Expert. He finally got that. And then I think he wants to get the world record on the Expert, and then he might move over to trying the challenge.
Yeah, just got to take care of business.
Yeah, of course. You got to check these things off your to-do list.
So the 314,000 that you have, is that world record right now?
Or 350? Yeah, I played it twice, and I got like 314 and then 350, and yeah, that's the world record with a failing grade. So I was the only person to have Ace for Aces passed for a long time, and then so I was the only person who could play the challenge unless I was playing it with someone, and then Chris, like, couple days ago, I think, got Ace for Aces difficult passed himself, so now he can play the challenge if he wants to. Currently, I think we're the only 2 people in the world. I don't know if Fems or Returi have passed Ace for Aces yet. I didn't see anything on their blogosphere, the Twitter sphere, of that happening. So maybe they did, but I haven't heard anything about it.
So the race kind of stopped when you took it then, huh?
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know if they really wanted to be the first people to like reveal it or be the first people to pass it. I know that like Fems was kind of like taking a break from DDR, it seemed, and now he was playing for that stream. Maybe he just like had he was like, that's my DDR for the month, and I'm just gonna like do something else. He tweets a lot in Korean, but I can't read Korean, so maybe if I could read Korean, I'd have a better understanding of what he was saying. I see like Korean characters, DDR, Korean characters, and Bing Translate does not do a very good job.
We need some like Korean and English speakers to give us an update on Fefem's progress. Well, anyway, so moving on, our main topic for this evening for the podcast is improvement, as I said. And so let's go back to you, Elaine, and let's talk about some of your recent accomplishments with DDR Ace. So you've been playing a lot lately. And tell us about some of the recent accomplishments that you've had.
Just recently, oh gosh, what was it, on Sunday? Sunday I got my first single digit perfect count, and then I followed it up with a second one, so I now have 2 SDPs.
Excellent.
Which was really surprising. I wasn't trying for any single digit perfects. I was just trying to MA a bunch of stuff, and
Yeah.
my first PFC was in November, and until now I've gotten 42. So I've just been like trying to PFC as much as I can and like play as many songs as I can. And I think I'm breaking into 17s. Did I pass an 18?
I don't remember. I think you were just passing 17s.
I think 17s. I've
Passing
passed maybe
17s
like
now?
maybe 5 or 6 17s now. So that's where my progress has kind of gone, and I guess that's
So, like, when did you start taking Ace really seriously?
probably in November of last year. So I
So less than a year.
yeah, less than a year. I think in November I started trying to go at least once a week to play. And then when 2017 started, I started going twice a week. And then there was maybe a month or so I was going like 3 or 4 times a week.
Nice.
And then it's kind of dropped off like this past month.
It's hard to play DDR as much as you want to, because
Yeah.
really, I would be there 8 hours a day if I
I
could.
really wish I could. I really wish I could. So yeah, that's I've probably just under a year, and this is the progress that I've made so far.
What made you start taking it seriously?
That's a good question. I think it stemmed from me thinking of it as exercise. And I think, when was the San Jose tournament?
Oh, that was May last year.
Well, there was May of this year and then November as well of last year.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. I think I watched the tournament and I was like, I actually could probably beat some of these people if I took this seriously.
Yeah.
And so I started taking it seriously. And my goal is to like join a tournament and see how far I can go.
Excellent.
Which is a great way to make progress.
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
Like, I think tournaments are one of the best ways to improve, and I'm so glad that there are so many of them, especially recently and with the advent of Ace. Like, it's just so nice to like meet rivals and set goals, and like if you like, a lot of people have like top 8 or top 16 or want to get out of the single elimination round or whatever goal you have. There's usually a way to integrate, like whatever your level is, you can integrate a goal into a tournament setting pretty easily, I think.
Yeah. So, once again, stressing tournaments. Can't stress that enough.
Yeah, I don't know, I just love tournaments.
So you watched the tournament and it motivated you to get good because you saw people who you thought you could beat.
Yes.
And is there anything that you would want to say to people who are like on the fence about entering a tournament or even going to spectate?
Watch out.
I think the suggestion that I would make is just enter the tournament, because you never know who else would be entering. You don't know how well you would do against everybody else until you try.
Yeah.
I think you have to go into it with a certain mentality. Like you probably know that you're not going to win.
Yeah.
I'm
We got Jeff and Chris and Sappy and all the crazy good players.
So, I mean, go in there and just see how well you do. You could learn, like, charts that you happen to be very good at. You could find out weaknesses and stuff like that you should work on. And there's just, like, so many good things that would come out of entering a tournament. And also supporting us doing tournaments in the future.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's really true. So that's a good segue, I think, into kind of our first topic for improvement. Is we want to talk about deliberate practice. So deliberate practice is it's kind of like a sports thing too, but it's sort of actively trying to get better, acknowledging your weak spots, and like actually focusing on improving in the game. And so, like, Jeff, do you want to start us off and talk a little bit about what you think this means?
Yeah. So I think it's really a mentality thing of like how you want to play the game and how you have fun playing the game. And not everyone, like, in full disclosure, like not everyone wants to like be super good at the game.
Yeah.
And if you are one of those people, like a lot of this advice may not be great. For me, like a lot of it depends on how you like to have fun. Mm-hmm. And for me, like, getting good scores was fun for me. Like, yes, I enjoy the arrows, I enjoy the music, and I enjoy the aesthetic of the game and everything. But for me, like, seeing myself improve session over session, knocking down, like, I used to take my scores printed out on a 3 pieces of paper. I would staple them before my arcade trip, throw them in my backpack, and I would go to the arcade and I have 10 greats on this song. I'd play it, I'd get 5, and I'd cross out the 10, and I'd write a 5 next to it. And like that, being able to cross out those numbers and write smaller numbers was like that was like an adrenaline thing. That was like endorphins everywhere. So, like, if that sounds like you, then that's like, I think practicing deliberately will help in that respect.
I think even if it's not you, it's sort of like a different facet of the game that you can you can kind of play it in 2 different modes. You know, you can play it seriously and try to get best your scores, and it's really fun to do that. But then you can also just play your favorite songs over and over again with your friends, and that's really fun too.
That's true. Yeah, they're not mutually exclusive, and you can have days where you want to go really hard, and you have days where you just sort of relax and stay in your comfort zone. But I think the idea of a comfort zone is actually like the biggest trap for progressing. And I didn't really realize this until I started using score trackers and like filling out my scores, and realized that if you just want to play whatever, like, you're going to gravitate to the 10 favorite songs that you love, and you're going to play those over and over again, and maybe you'll get really good at them. But what really, like, I can't stress enough, and what I tell people when they ask me, like, how do you get good? The fastest track is play every single song. Like, it doesn't matter, you scroll over it, it sounds garbage, you hear from your friends that it's a bad chart, it does not matter. If you want to deliberately improve at the game, then you need to play every song. And I did this for DJ Max Technica. I was one of the best Technica 2 players in the US, because, and I had to like be goaded by my friend who was like, play every song, like stop not playing every song. And I was like, but these songs are so fun. Yes, they're fun, but there's so many other patterns and rhythms and weird things that other charts throw at you. And it's one of the reasons that no one plays them, is because they're bad and they're strange and they feel awkward. But if you're able to learn how to do something, a great example I have is The Reason, which is a song from DDR 2013, and it's got like the yellow note syndrome, where like there's a stop in the beginning of the song and then the downbeats on yellow arrows instead, and it's got like weird jumps and rhythms, and just, it's crazy complex, and it doesn't sound like a good song. It's like a rock song. It's just weird. It doesn't fit in DDR at all. But playing that song, if you get good at that, you can take that skill to like a 10-footer that just has 8th notes in it, and you will be so much more accurate because you've already tried something that's way harder. You can bring that skill to something that's much easier.
Yeah, I heard some people talking about it on Twitter recently. I think maybe it was Noah or something, or I think it was Noah, who had someone ask him in the arcade, just like a random passerby, was like, so are you trying to predict the arrows? And like, hearing that kind of made me realize, like, that's actually kind of what you're doing. You're kind of trying to digest as much of this information as possible, every chart, like every song, like watching people play, just like playing ITG songs, everything. Just as the more charts that you see, the more you try on each chart, like the next time you play, the better you're going to be at knowing what's going to come up and being able to react to it properly. So, like if you play The Reason or something like that, there's some weird stuff in there, that like those like weird things.
Yeah, there's 30 seconds at like 98.
Yeah, 30 seconds at 98, and like maybe that's the only song in there that does that. And at some point, there's going to be another one that will, and then once you see that, then that skill will have carried over.
Exactly.
So being able to predict the notes, that's kind of what we're all trying to do.
Yeah, and the other thing that a lot of passersby say, I think, is like, did you memorize the songs? And I remember somebody asked me that one time, and I said, no. And then I went, well, actually, not memorizing, but there is a little bit of memory involved.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
This game knowledge, I think, of like knowing the songs is,
it's like kind of like a digested memory.
Yeah, it's a different kind of memory. Yeah, it's kind of like I don't know, digested memory. That's a good way to put it.
I want to point out that like it's a zero-sum game for me anyway, of like how much fun like how much casual I'm playing with like how much I'm going to improve. And like it's up for everyone to decide where on that like spectrum they want to fall. But like one thing I try to recommend, if you're sort of getting in the trap of like playing the same songs over and over again and not improving, I would recommend, especially on something like DDR Ace where there's so many songs that are brand new to people, every set play one thing you've never seen before. And like play your favorites, but one song. Give yourself one brand new sight read. Not only do you get the lamps, which are nice, I love the lamps.
Yeah, the lamps are great because now you can tell what you have and haven't played.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And but that way, like you just start like breaking into new facets of the game that you've never seen before. And Elaine, I know that you have been like trying to play everything. So can you talk a little bit about your experience there?
Yeah, actually, I think I asked Jeff at one point. I was like, I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm kind of hitting a wall right now and I'm not improving. And his advice to me was start with lamps. Like, just start getting every lamp for like all of the mixes. And I said, what are lamps? I
guess we could describe what that is.
I don't know what it is. So in each folder, if you pass each one, or even if you fail, if you play every song, you will get an illuminated effect next to the name of the folder.
And the song, too.
And
individual
the song. So I started getting lamps of just like passing songs, and I went through DDR First Mix all the way to...
You stopped at like Supernova 2 or
Supernova 2. I think I stopped at Supernova or Supernova 2 because I thought those were my least favorite. And then I got to a point where there were like 17s and 18s or something like that, like gimmicky stuff that I didn't want to waste a credit on, essentially. And it wasn't until just this past Monday or Sunday that I was like, oh, you know, we're kind of taking a break and nobody's at the arcade, let me swipe. And then I ended up passing 2 random 17s.
That's pretty good. 17s are kicking my butt right now.
I did not do it gracefully. So getting lamps, it really did push me into a very unfamiliar territory of playing things that are like 98 BPM, which is just awful. I hate it. But it makes you learn, like, you need to use a calculator to figure out how fast you should be reading your arrows. And also, it ended up becoming a bunch of PFCs that I never would have tried or known that I would have gotten. So it was probably the best advice that I've gotten, because my progression has been mostly from like getting lamps and then just pushing my stamina.
Have you gone back, like, do you play a song in like DDR First Mix or Second Mix, get like a clearing lamp on it and then come back to it later and then was able to see that it like really improved? Or
oh, what was the one that I just did? It was the one that I got the
Keep on Moving?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that one was like, I think I had 20 some and now it's an SDP.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's pretty good.
That's a great improvement.
yeah, the timing came from just like playing every single song, and it just kind of goes really quickly as you're going through them. I think I still have maybe like 3 or 4 folders left. I don't know. To me, my progression is mostly based on setting different goals. So if one of them isn't going well for me, that I can switch to another. So if my timing is off that day, instead of getting frustrated and then just playing the same songs over and over and getting upset, I switch to stamina and push through it. And then if I start getting tired, then I push it back to like clearing lamps or something like that.
Yeah.
There's always some sort of achievement people can get, and I think people get in a bad habit of playing the same songs over and over and being like, oh, I got it perfect, or oh, I got it great, and then just stopping.
Do you have any
Yeah.
rivals?
I do not. This is it's a personal preference. I think people experience the game in a very different way. The way that I experience it is the game is for my own improvement and for my own achievements. So if I want to share an achievement, I will share it on social media. But I don't necessarily want somebody seeing my score and being like, oh, I'm going to take that. I feel like that's more of a...
Yeah, it definitely feels weird.
Yeah.
I also avoided rivals for a long time for the same reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, I go back and forth on whether I think it's the right thing to do.
I enjoy it. I think it's a good way to discover new songs.
Yeah.
That's true too.
Like, actually, I think, Roger, you're probably my closest rival, and so I like to go into... There's a folder on DDR Ace where you can say rival loss.
Oh.
So you can see songs where Roger's beat me on certain things. And I remember going through there and seeing a lot of, not clear lamps, and thinking like, oh, could I beat him on this on the first try? So, it's pretty hard.
Yeah.
It's really good. But
That's pretty good.
I do recommend this though. I think like personally, I think setting rivals is really fun. I think it's not a competitive thing either. It's kind of like you're playing with your friends even though they're not there.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the way that you view it.
Do whatever you want.
Might end up adding a rival. I had there's a girl named Steph who is out in the Sacramento area, and she's been improving a whole lot. I'm really proud of her. Shout outs to Steph. So she asked me for my rival code, so she might be my first rival.
Excellent. So Elaine is looking for 2 more rivals.
Way to put her on the spot.
Gosh. Everybody's gonna be like, let me see that code.
So, sorry, one more thing before if we
go ahead.
The topic, I just want to point out like one really cool thing about lamps is that you get to see what your score was beforehand, and seeing that improvement I think is actually really motivating, and it's more motivating than you might think.
Yeah.
So like if you play, like I guarantee you, anyone who's watching, if you want to get better, play DDR first mix, start there, because it's 3 songs, you get a folder lamp real quick, and then go all the way up through Ace, and then go back to, and that'll take like a month. But
yeah, it takes a long time.
At the very least.
But go back to the early folders and play a song after you've done that, and you will see that you went from like getting a 980K on something to PFCing it. Like I swear to God, like, and that's incredibly motivating. Or you halfway through, you stop at extreme, and you go back to the second mix folder and you try something new, or try something that you've already played before. You might PFC it. You might full combo it. You might do whatever that you couldn't have done before. And I think seeing that improvement, like I always liked those milestones in my own brain of being like, okay, I'm getting better. Because sometimes if you're only playing brand new stuff all the time, you might have a hard time telling, hey, am I getting better, or am I just going through the motions and not actually getting better? So being able to reapply it to something you've already played gives you motivation and keeps you pushing forward.
I think another thing too, if you're an old school player like Elaine, go back and play some of the extreme songs because you know them already, and you probably don't have lamps for them if you start getting serious into Ace again. That's something that helped me. I thought. Like all the extreme songs.
And it's fun to go back and play those songs that used to be hard and now you dominate them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with like Ace timing and the marvelous timing and all that stuff, it's like really changes the experience. So it's another motivating factor, I think. So besides deliberate practice, we also want to talk a little bit about the tools that the game provides you.
And the play-to-win philosophy.
Yes.
Yeah, so why don't we start off with a question, actually. We have a question from Twitter. Mark Robinson writes in and asks, what's the panel's view on speed mods? And do we use them? And what are the benefits of speed mods?
What are the benefits of use or non-use to you? I mean, I feel like there's like a long-standing DDR morality thing with speed mods, where it's people come up with when we first started playing DDR, there were no speed mods, right? In first mix all the way up to fifth mix, there were no speed mods, so no one used them. And then when DDR Max came out, you could change the speed of the song, and it made things a little easier. So some people, seeing that it made the game easier, were like, oh, you're making it too easy, and I'm not going to do that. So I'm going to play on 1x, and all the people who are playing on speed mods, you guys are just cheating. And that was kind of like the predominant view until maybe like 2003 or so, when people were like, wait a second, like, I think once you hit a certain level of being good at DDR, you can kind of do 1x better than the players who only stick to 1x, right? So there's people who only play 1x, and they're really proud of it, which that's great to read stuff slow because it's a really good skill. But I feel like if you start to get really good at DDR, you go back and you play Oni mode and you play old mixes and stuff, and you get used to playing on 1x too, and you end up being better at it than the people who don't play with speed mods. And I feel like maybe I should back up a little bit and say that I kind of like over-moralized that a little bit, but I think that the point is you get tools that the game provides to make you better, and you can use them, and you can not use them. And the benefits of using them are you get better scores and you get better at the game. The benefits of not using them are, I don't know.
I would like to say regarding speed mods, I think if you use them for yourself, like if you know your own limits instead of being like, oh, well, I see Jeff playing this at 4 times speed, so I'm going to play it at 4 times speed.
Yeah,
like,
that's...
You also need to know your limitation. I've seen some players that read a lot faster than I think they should be, just by like the way that they're looking at the screen, and that they're just not reacting in time. I think people should kind of like slow it down and make sure that they're doing what's correct for them.
Yeah.
So if you don't think speed mods are good for you, then don't use them. But if you think they are good for you, make sure that you're doing it for yourself and not like paying attention to what other people are doing.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like you don't want to go too crazy too fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I built up like my speed range over even over the last year of Ace being in existence. Like I used to play like 150 BPM, like 3 or like 3.25 was like perfect for me.
Yeah.
And now I throw that shit on 4. Like I am nobody got time for anything less than like 600 right now.
Yeah.
But for real though, like I noticed myself even recently bumping up my speeds as I become more comfortable with songs. Like I used to read like 170, I would never read on 3.5, and now for certain songs I will absolutely read
I'm doing
on
it too.
3.5.
It's so fast.
With speed mods, one thing to really consider is that it makes reading easier, but it also makes timing easier. So like when you're playing on 1x, the Marvelous window is basically when the arrows rise up and they lock in with the targets, right? And when you're playing on 1x, the size of the Marvelous window is the size of the targets, basically. And if you're playing on 2x, the size of the Marvelous window visually grows. So there's all this space in here now that, like, if you learn to read faster, there's all this space in here now that you can move around in the window. And the further you go, the more movement you have within the window, and the easier you can kind of lock into the song sync and things like that.
I just want to clarify though, that's not to say that playing songs on faster speed mods enlarges the Marvelous window.
It doesn't
make timing like easier in that sense. It's just what Roger's saying is that visually, like if an arrow is scrolling at 3 frames per second, like if it's jumping like you know, a certain number of pixels per frame, like it's not actually going in a straight line, then or in a constant I don't know how to describe this pretty well. But basically, like the window you have where the note could be and you press it and you still get a Marvelous actually does visually increase, which gives yourself some leeway.
It doesn't increase in terms of the
timing,
the input to the game engine, but like what you can see as a human, like you're pretty good at seeing stuff. Like, and people can get really good at reading speed mods really fast. I know people like Phil and like David League who can read like insane speeds, like 750 and stuff, and
you have to build up to that.
Yeah,
like, I think people try to rush it. They're like, oh, I want to read faster
because it looks cool.
Yeah, exactly, and it's more impressive, and girls are gonna look at me and stuff like that. Like,
do they?
I mean, they look at me. I don't know.
He's on 4x. Wow.
Look at that. The arrows are flying so far and fast. Sorry. So, I think if people just make sure that they're doing it correct for themselves and then gradually speed it up, you'll find that if you are very comfortable at like 160 BPM at ×3 speed, and then like you start playing more and more and more, all of a sudden you'll be like, maybe I can do 3.25 after like
That's exactly
a month
what
or
happens.
so.
Yeah.
So I think right now I just started bumping it around, like I think I'm now reading at 540 to 560, and that's a lot faster. I started at like 510. Yeah.
My personal so my personal feeling about speed mods, I think there's a little bit of strategy involved too, in like depending on what song you pick.
Definitely.
For me, like if I'm sight reading something, I have to read it at like 0.25x slower.
Yeah,
so
that's a must.
Yeah, but like even then, like there are some songs where I'll trip out, and like if I see like a certain pattern coming up, I'll have like a mental block or something, and I'll kind of like freak out. And I actually read 0.25x faster than I normally do on those songs.
Oh, interesting.
Because it kind of
the same
keeps me
thing.
on edge and
Breaks up the monotony.
it breaks up the monotony, but also it's
The
like
body
it gives you
just
less time
does
to
it.
think
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
it.
Exactly,
actually.
yeah.
So like
You
I
just
do
gotta
that too.
go.
Yeah.
yeah, so like there's some songs where you may want to do that. You may want to not think about it too much. And then there are other songs where I feel like the patterns, I wouldn't be able to recognize it on the fly very well, and I need a little bit of a buffer zone, and so I'll read a little bit slower for those too.
Exactly.
So yeah, I think the answer from the panel is, depends on your personal preference, it depends on how you play the game, but I would say probably don't pay too much attention to how other people use speed mods.
Yeah,
Just-
if you're gonna start using them from not using them at all, put it on 1.5. See how that feels. Jeff was talking about how he played Extreme
Almost
back in the day.
exclusively
1.5 on
That was
every
all
single
of us.
song, and
too.
it helps.
That
It
was
all of
helps.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all did 1.5. I think I did it because
2
somebody
was
told me to do it.
insane.
Yeah,
Two
2
was
was
fine.
crazy.
But yeah, like one thing, not only should you not like try to copy what other people are doing and try to find your own fit, but also don't impose, on the other side of the spectrum, like don't impose restrictions on yourself that no one else cares about or the game doesn't care about specifically. Like,
Yeah.
I think this is sort of the play to win mentality, and I have so much I could say about this.
Say it.
I'll try to avoid
Preach.
being too like dogmatic in my views, but I'm a pretty solid believer that like the game gives you a score. You should do whatever you can, barring like hacking and stuff like that, to get the game to spit out the score that you want it to spit out.
Yeah.
This means a couple things. First of all, it means that like I don't recalc pad misses or pad goods or anything, because like the game decided that I didn't do it the right way. So
that's the score you got.
the game's the arbiter. Like I don't get to decide what judgment I get. That's the game's job. So I'm going to delegate to the game and say, did I deserve a good because I slipped a little bit, or because that sensor sucks and I should have been hitting a different sensor? Sorry, but I got to play it again. I remember we were playing like an 11. It was a message by like DJ Taka or whatever, and I knew that the second player side of Saramonte was pretty bad at that point.
So bad.
And one of the L brackets had fallen off, but I didn't know that. I just assumed like the left arrow was just like being weird. And I MFC'd message with like MFC, and I got 0 perfects and a miss. And I just hit the left arrow and just miss, and I was like, well, I guess I have to do it again. It's not the game didn't give me the MFC that I deserved. I know I got a marvelous. How do I know? I'm not the, I'm
you
not
never
the game.
know.
So I'm gonna just take that as a 0 and a miss, and then I got them to fix the arrow, and then I re-MFC'd it. And so it's so that's one side of the coin. The other side is the game is giving you all these tools to do whatever you want to do with them, and as long as there's not like a glitch in the game or a bug, then you should use them. So this applies to speed mods. It applies to the bar that exists behind the dance pad, and it exists to, and this is where we're getting controversial. It applies to turn mods.
Yeah. So let's talk about what turn mods are
Sure.
for people who've never used it before.
So turn mods modify the chart. There's tons of things that can modify the chart or modify the gameplay screen.
Well, it's not really modifying the chart. It's more like a transformation.
Yeah. Sorry,
So-
I using them interchangeably. So turn mods basically, like, let's say you put something on mirror. So mirror will take all of the left arrows and make them right arrows, and all of the up arrows and make them down arrows instead, and vice versa. So
And that's an option the game gives you.
yeah, exactly. It's been in the game since DDR Max when speed mods were introduced.
The patterns are basically the same,
Yes,
but just
yeah.
they start on a different arrow.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is when you use something like mirror, you're always facing the same direction you would normally, but the foot you start on is different. If you're starting on your right foot normally, if you put on a mirror, you'll start on your left foot. And there's also things like left and right, which is just, it's like a 90-degree turn of every arrow. And shuffle will take like basically all of the left arrows and like reassign them to one of the other columns and keep doing that for every combination. But shuffle makes it so that like the combination you get can't be left, right, or mirror as well. It's like it's distinct from those as well.
And it's different every time?
Yeah, there's like 6 different combinations that it can be because of the limit. Like it can't be the normal chart. It can't be the left, like the chart on left. It can't be the chart on right. It can't be the chart on mirror. So it limits some of the space that things can go in. So like for example, I play Dead End Groove Radar Special on shuffle because it actually guarantees that the ending run there's no double steps in it. But it makes a lot of other parts harder. But I mean, that's an edge case. Basically, I use like left and right and mirror and a bunch of other like turn mods on various charts. It's like probably like 10 or so songs that I have in my head that I'm like, oh, I play this on left or something. Arabiata is one of them.
So when should I use a turn mod? When do I know that I should try it?
Yeah, I mean, that's, it's, again, with all this stuff, it's very personal. Like, turn mods can help in, I think, 2 ways. First, they can take mental blocks away from you. You can sort of break through them. If you always get nervous, I know a lot of people, especially with like the Extreme era boss songs, Legend of Max, Max 300, get so nervous at a certain point in the chart because it's been this thing that's haunted them for 15 years.
I'm like that.
And so throwing it on mirror can sometimes, like, it guarantees, mirror is like the safest one, because if there's not a crossover in the normal chart, there will not be a crossover in the mirror chart, and if there is one, like, it sort of translates well.
Yeah.
So you can throw something on mirror and try to break through that mental block. Like, if it's a down left like drill, and you like always miss there for some reason, even though it's not that bad normally in other songs, throw it maybe on up and right. Maybe something just clicks in you, and you're like, that's not that bad. Like, I can do it there, and then you take that back to the normal chart, and you break through that mental block. And I've done that for many songs.
I play a lot of stuff on mirror. I sometimes I just leave it on for the whole game, and a lot of times it's not only to break up the mental blocks, because I feel like I have a lot of mental blocks, especially like Jeff said on the extreme boss songs, but also for songs that I know maybe that I don't want to develop a mental block on too early. Like I'm kind of trying to play some 17s and 18s recently, trying to get good at them. And there's some parts in them that are pretty hard. And I know that I don't want to have the normal chart ruined from doing it wrong, so I'll put it on mirror, and then I'll play that, and then, you know, I'll get good at it, and maybe I'll develop a block or something along the way, but I know that in the future, I can just turn mirror off and go back to the real one. So now I'm kind of like living life on mirror by default, and then going back to the normal one.
Interesting use case. Yeah.
But so the second use case, besides mental block breakage, is to make things easier.
Yeah.
And when I say that, like 90% of the community like cringes, and they're like, "But you're making it easier." And I'm like, "Yeah, but that's like everything. Like, why wouldn't you?" What I don't understand, and this is the play to win mentality, is why wouldn't you do everything that you can to make the game give you the score that you want? If that means putting it on mirror, go for it. If that means playing it on 3x, do it. Hold the bar. Whatever you have to do. But like, that is the point of the mods. They exist in the game for a reason, and EMU's, importantly, does not care. So scores submit just like they would normally.
I didn't know that.
I played at KAC. I had to play Dead End Groove Radar Special, and I played it on shuffle. Konami doesn't care.
Well, first of all, besides Dead End Groove Radar Special, what's an example of where a turn mod makes a song easier?
So
Arabiata.
Arabiata, yeah. Arabiata's like just like da 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 da. It's crossover city. So take those, you know, left down, right down, left, and make it a candle, like up, right, down, right, up. And then suddenly you're not crossing over constantly.
So that's playing it on left or right?
Either one, yeah. Either one will throw it. Make left and right makes crossovers, not crossovers. Bamboo Sword Girl is another example where a lot of people trip up. The expert chart has a pattern that goes left, down, up, down, right, and then it repeats it like on the up side of things. If you throw that on left, it's like da 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 da. It's really easy. It makes the rest of the chart like really awkward and bonkers. But if that's the trade-off that you make, and mirror or left or right, especially left and right, don't usually make a chart strictly easier. They're
just going to make it different.
Like Snow Prism, I think, is an example where like mirror will make it strictly easier because you take all Snow Prism Challenge. There's a bunch of jacks on the up arrow, and they're almost exclusively on the up arrow. Throw that on down. I'm much more comfortable hitting jacks on my
up. It's the worst arrow.
Yeah, like, I'm just much more comfortable on down. And so like Chris does this, I do this, Hudson does this. A lot of people still have it in them, like that there are these rules, like, or morality that you can't, like, I can't throw it on mirror because then it's not the real chart and it's not how the game intended me to play it. And I'm like, that is You're creating a box around your skill and your ability to improve, and like artificially, like it's all self-imposed restrictions.
Yeah.
The game doesn't care. The game's a computer.
Yeah.
All it cares about is if you got a good score or not.
I'm on the other side of the couch.
Right. And I know there's tons of people that disagree, and I would love to hear if we don't have to delve into it too much, but
yeah, but again, I think it's a personal thing. So, you know, like, it's definitely not something I would impose on other people, but personally, I feel if I'm coming across a part of the chart that I'm struggling with, and I know, like, left or right would make it easier, I feel like I have to overcome that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't just transform it to make it different.
And that's fair, too.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to advocate for, and I think this is what gets lost in the conversation, is I'm not telling anyone you have to use turn mods on Snow Prism Challenge.
And I'm not telling anyone you shouldn't use turn mods.
Right. What I'm saying is that you should feel like you as a player can develop whatever skills within the bounds of the game that the game provides to you.
Yeah.
So, like, I just get frustrated when people try to belittle, like, oh, you used a turn mod. That's not as impressive.
Yeah. Well,
or
I think
it's not as real as when I did it. Like,
so if you're on my side of the couch, I think a good way to go would be, like, you can use turn mods. You just know that option's there.
Yeah.
And then, like, I think I would probably, like, use a turn mod to just try it and see if I can get it on a turn mod. And if I can, I can be like, okay, great, I have more practice to try it on the non-modified version.
It's just the option to. They're all called options. Like,
Yeah.
it's just the option to try something new.
So even that's my message is even if you're opposed to it, you know, try it anyway.
Right.
See how
it's
it
just
goes.
like if you're opposed to it, don't come down on players who do use them because they're just using tools that the game provides.
Exactly.
It's like there's no like there's a really great article, and maybe I can link it in the description at some point of this video, but it's about Street Fighter specifically, and it's about how like the scrub mentality of like, oh, we're playing, like, I'm a scrub in Street Fighter and you're an experienced player, and I'm trying to do all the fancy combinations, and you're just coming up to me and grabbing me and throwing me. Every single time you grab me and you throw me. And I'm like, that's cheap. You know, like, that's the scrub mentality. It's like, you can't just throw me. You have to Hadouken me from far away so that I can block it and then come in with my Shoryuken and beat you. It's like, no, the game doesn't care. The game is just saying that you won. And it's because you did whatever you could within the bounds of the game to beat me. And so, like, just use the tools is all I want to say.
Yeah, you're still hitting the notes. You're still moving around. You know, like, you can't not move. You can bracket, but even that's pretty hard.
That story is interesting in the way that you framed it too. I think because you framed it as in like this is something that all pros will learn eventually.
I think that is true too.
It's really what sets apart like a beginner player to an advanced player.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. Like, I think a lot about DDR or anything you're trying to get good at, you have to have a mentality that lends itself towards that improvement. And one thing, I kept trying to tweet this the other day, I really couldn't think of a way to phrase it properly, but what separates pros from regular players is that whole mentality, and like the more autonomy you take in whatever mistakes you made or whatever problems or challenges, the more you say that was my fault, not the game's fault, the more you will improve.
Yeah, it's always your fault.
It's always your fault because the game does not care. The game doesn't care if the inside sensor on the up arrow is undersensitive. It blows my mind that people will complain. They'll say, well, I would have gotten a great score if the up arrow was sensitive, but it wasn't. Like, that's the whole point. It wasn't. So you should have been hitting it harder. You should have been moving to the other sensors that you know are more sensitive. It's your fault. You have to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
And I think this goes with anything in life. Is like, you know, in general, you can kind of assume that all your problems are your fault.
Life's lessons.
And fix them on your own, you know?
So we should move on because we're...
Can I say
actually have a question.
Sorry, I want to say one more thing.
All right, Jeff first and then Elaine.
Okay, one more thing. Turn mods also, or like anything you're doing, you might actually be using it as a crutch, in which case there's going to be a future chart that doesn't let you get past that crutch. I'll give an example. I'm bad at Scoobies, the sideways crossovers, the Afronova runs that start on the up. Like if it's like in London Evolved A, it starts on like up and then goes down. But if I throw that on mirror, I can PFC it. But I now have a problem where if I can't change that, like in May or something, I'm screwed. And so turn mods come at a cost. I'll just say, like, anything you're doing, understand the pros and cons. Please ask.
Yeah, that's good.
So we were talking about playing every chart so you can learn like new technical things. Like it forces your body to learn like new patterns and all that kind of stuff, not just the easy like eighth note kind of stuff. So do you think there's value? Like I've heard like 2DX players play stuff on random to force themselves to play really awkward things. Is that the same in DDR where people play stuff on shuffle?
I think that there is value there, but I think the thing about DDR now is that there's so many charts that, like, I think back in the extreme days when there weren't that many songs, and once you play all of them, you have to find some way of making it fresh. So we all used to play on shuffle or S4R, sudden shuffle flat, and that I think that made us better when we were playing songs on shuffle because you have to learn to switch your feet and stuff. But I think that only really applies when you have a small song selection. Now there's 800 songs, 700 songs, whatever it is, and there's enough shuffle in there.
Yeah,
that's true.
For
that.
The difference is in 2DX you have you have more fingers than you do keys if you're playing a single, and no one plays. As far as my understanding of double is that no one plays double charts on random in 2DX.
Oh, okay.
So, but on single, you have more fingers than you have keys, so you can hit like if you have like 1, 5, and 7, you might hit that with like 2 hands. If that's like 5, 6, 7 instead, you can still hit that. The thing with DDR is that you have 2 feet and 4 arrows. So there are if you're a god like Chris and you can double step everything, you may have no problem with putting a 15 on shuffle. But there are just going to be so many awkward patterns that are generated that don't actually translate to anything besides Groove Raider Special. And Groove Raider Special. Like that's the only chart that playing crazy stupid shit on shuffle will ever make you good at.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would make you good if you did it, but there's also
it's
like
such a small. I would not recommend like. If you want to break up the monotony of playing an 8-footer and you want to play it on shuffle, go for it.
Yeah.
But like, don't play a 15 on shuffle. You're probably not going to get anything out of it.
And it's just going to be weird.
Yeah.
So
ITG on Blender.
yeah, play ITG on Blender.
got a lot of questions.
Yeah, so we have, speaking on the topic of mods, so Popcornio in the chat asks, what are recommendations on using Sudden Plus to help read slower sections of songs like Roppongi Evolved version D or Healing D Vision?
So Sudden Plus is a new mod that must be in X or something.
Covers up part of the screen.
Yeah, basically like you can set at the beginning of your song. You basically like have this sliding like window that blocks the arrows, and so you can sort of shift its position up and down using the up and down arrows on the game. And if you mid song, if you press the green button, it goes away. So a lot of players will, if you have like a song like Healing Division, which starts slow and then speeds up at the end, like usually the fewer arrows that are on screen, the easier it is to process, which is why people will use speed mods. But you can't use a super fast speed mod for Healing Division because the ending is coming up. So you put the first half, like you put half the screen up on Sudden Plus, so you now only have, like you're reading at 1.5, but there's fewer notes on screen, half as many notes on screen. It's easier to process, and then you get to a point in the song where you can hit the green button safely and go to the fast part. So that's to give people an idea of Sudden Plus is actually possible because of HD cabinets. Like a red cabinet like that wouldn't be possible because it doesn't have the up and down. It's actually disabled on those builds of DDR. And I do want to, I'm actually going to be, when we do our Advanced Techniques Part 2 episode, I'm going to go into a lot more detail about Sudden Plus.
Yeah, I need to know how to use that. It's like, I feel like it's really hard to get down there and hit the button while I'm playing DDR.
But basically, it's another thing, it's kind of a similar thing for turn mods for me, where I like the strategy of being able to figure out, can I use Sudden Plus on this song? Okay, let me experiment, let me try. Like, Happy Lucky Yeepy is something that I never used Sudden Plus on until very recently when I was talking to Steven Ninjafar about it. He said that he used it, and I was like, interesting. There's like one long freeze that you have on the left arrow, and you can just sort of, and you just, and then you're ready for the. It's not actually right before the speed up, but it's enough that like you get 60 or 70% of the song, you get to play it on Sudden Plus, and then you only have to deal with a little bit of like really small arrows. So my recommendation is like I can give people a list of songs that I use it on, like Happy Lucky Yeepy, Healing Division.
Roppongi version T?
Do I use it on Roppongi? No, there's no safe spot in Roppongi to use it. You can for the ending, yeah, you can for the ending, but you can't use it for the, like, you can't start the song with Sudden Plus, you have to turn it on way later. So there's actually like I haven't even tried that. I should try that, but I haven't thought about it enough. There's actually it's actually something I should really integrate into my my sessions more, is experimenting with sudden plus more. But basically take a song that speeds up and see if there's a safe place for you, like maybe start with the active and see if you can turn it off safely, or maybe see if you can turn it on if the song slows down half speed.
Yeah.
Like I thought about it for something like Monkey Business, but there's actually there's not enough time in this, like when the slowdown starts, to lock that 7+ in.
No, this time I think, isn't
No,
it?
you have like it starts like right there. Well,
No, there's the do 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 the down arrow freeze.
the problem. Wait, in challenge.
Yeah.
But the problem is you can never have sudden plus active when the song's scrolling at half speed, but you can't, or full speed, but you can have it not there when the song's scrolling at half speed. It gets confusing. It's hard to explain on the spot.
Yeah, we'll talk about this more.
But
in the
I'll have
advanced.
like a section in our next advanced techniques video where I will talk extensively about sudden plus and its usage.
Right on. Okay. So our next topic that I wanted to get into was so breadth of game knowledge. So this is kind of a frequent thing that comes up, especially when people talk about you and Chris, I think, is breadth versus depth of game knowledge. And so there's kind of like the difference between, I was wondering if you want to explain the difference between those, and what do you think is advantageous about learning the game in a broad sense?
Yeah, I mean, I think like I'm a breadth player, I guess you could say. Like I play every song. I play things that aren't just expert and challenge. I play a lot of stuff on difficult or beginner. And Chris is a good example of someone who's like a depth player, I would say, where he excels at taking a chart, memorizing it, breaking down every single section, and like completely destroying it. Like a lot of the world records that Chris has are so far beyond what the rest of us have. Like he has like 4 perfects or 8 perfects. I think he has 8 perfects on Elemental Creation Challenge. And that's like, the record before that must have been in like the 30s or 40s. And then he got 20 and he's like, that's not good enough. He got 15, that's not good enough. And like he already has the record, but he keeps, because he loves the song so much and he loves breaking everything down and like really destroying one particular song. So I think there's merits to both. Obviously, like Chris is the KAC world champion, like he's the best player in the world. So depth obviously has its merits. I think that I'm also a very good player, and so it shows that the breadth of gameplay knowledge is actually really important too. I think it helps in tournaments when a lot of stuff is moving to card draw, where you're getting random songs, you don't get to pick.
Yep.
You just get like 5 songs, and a lot of times Chris asks like, what's this one? Because it's in Japanese or something. And I'm like, oh, it's this song, it has this many steps, and it has this pattern at the end that I have memorized or written down somewhere that I know how to face for it or something, because I play absolutely everything and I internalize everything. And I think for progression, if you're really trying to get better, like looking at someone like Chris can be sort of like a trap sometimes, because it's like, well, Chris is playing the same songs over and over and over again. And it's like, yes, but it's because he's so good at everything else already that he can afford to like not spread himself out in that sense.
Yeah.
Whereas for a player like Elaine, I wouldn't be recommending struggle over and over and over again until you
Over
PFC
and
it.
over.
Like you should play some other 13s and other 12s, get good at those, and then come back to struggle and see if you can PFC it, see if you can break through the barriers that you have set up.
So Elaine, do you think you're a breadth player or a depth player?
I think I'm definitely a breadth player, because like if I try to go for one song specifically, I get so frustrated and I just walk off the pad. Like as soon as I hit a grade, it's just not worth my time anymore. And I know that type of playing doesn't resonate with me, because I just end up in a foul mood and then everybody has to deal with that. So to me, it's always like, if something isn't working for me, go to something else, try a different song. One of my favorite things to do is play next to somebody I don't know and have them choose all the songs.
I love this.
Yeah,
I love doing that.
I that's the way I prefer to play. It's like, can someone else please pick the songs? And every time I play it with Jeff, he's like, you pick everything. And I'm like,
Sorry,
ah!
honestly, I forget that you were also like that. Like we were playing this morning, and yeah, I totally made you pick like every song. I feel bad now. Sorry, but I'm also the same way. I'm just like, like even as much as I know that I'm a breath player and everything, like, and I have all these scores, sometimes it's hard for me to figure out like what I want to focus on for a given day. You know, I could increase this score a little bit, or I could try to MSC this. And given to my own devices, like sometimes I just get locked onto a song. I'm like, I'm not stopping. I'm playing Great E6 Cyber until I MFC it, because I'm sick of the fact that I don't have an MFC'd, and I'm just like, it's eating away at me. But sometimes breaking away from it for a little bit I loved. There was a period of time where I was just like playing with a bunch of new players at Saramonte, and like letting them pick whatever they wanted. If I had the expert MFC'd, I just play the difficult or the beginner, and I try to MFC that, see if I could get it. And it was so like liberating to just like play a bunch of interesting new charts. Like some like, you know, a lot of charts on difficult are still like 12s or 11s or something. And it's like you play an expert 8 but not a difficult 11, like thinking emoji. Like, so there's a lot of cool stuff you can like you can experience that way too.
Yeah, I kind of consider myself a dev player, I think.
Yeah.
You lock on to a couple songs.
Yeah, I get kind of obsessed with songs sometimes, or
really
I'll just
technical, weird ones. You like the ones that just break my brain and make me angry.
Yeah, I just like like the interesting charts. I just like to think about it a lot. I'll listen to it a lot, like outside of DDR and stuff, and I'll just get obsessed with it. And,
I love being obsessed with things.
Yeah, I love being obsessed with things. Personally, I feel like this is one of the ways to enjoy the game. But I do feel like I think a balance between breadth and depth is really good, because like I was really getting into getting really deep into a couple of songs, trying to memorize some parts. And then, you hit some mental blocks, you get frustrated, and I think, like, branching out and trying other stuff is a really good way to prevent frustration and to get better. I remember I came back to a couple of 15s that I was trying to PFC, and ended up, like, taking a big break from them, came back to them, PFC'd them right away.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh
That's
man,
what
I've
happens.
been trying to get this song for so long, and I took a break, and now I've got it.
But part of the break is playing other songs too. It's not like there's part of it which is like, oh, I'll just stop playing it for a month and then I'll come back to it. That might work too, but especially in that month, if you are playing other things, and if you're playing a lot of 16s and 17s, and you come back to a 15, suddenly that 160 BPM run is not that hard anymore, because you're so used to 180 BPM runs. So like it's all about, like, I think if you're trying to progress the fastest, you should be playing every song. And you should not getting locked down too much on one song, because you can always, like, the skill just transfers so well between songs, more than you think. Like, how can The Reason help me with, Confession or something? Like, they're two disparate BPMs, they're great, they're so different.
It can help.
It just helps.
So we got a question from Jacqueline on Twitter. What's your advice to maximize improvement during arcade visits, when going to the arcade too frequently can get a bit expensive? So, Elaine, do you have any advice, since you've been going to the arcade a lot lately?
I don't think I'm the correct person to answer this, because I unload money to get to the arcade and back. Like, it is, I don't like to talk about how much I unload into the arcade. Like, this is my passion, this is what I love, this is how I choose to spend my time. And it is costly, but I just eat the cost of it.
It's enriching.
Yeah, so I don't think that's a lot of people play at home. A lot of people play on Stepmania, so they can study charts, understand what they're going into. So when they go to the arcade, they know they're not going to waste their money. I never practice at home. I always go play at the arcades. So
actually, I want to delegate this to Roger, because Roger has some tips for Dave & Buster's. You can redeem points for tickets for appetizers, which is food.
Yeah, you can redeem tickets for appetizers. No, I think so, the most important thing here is to maximize improvement when you're going to the arcade. I think this is important for improving in general, but when you're playing, try as hard as you can the whole time.
Yep.
I think that a lot of times when people go to the arcade, I see them playing, and they're playing, but they're not really playing. I think if you go and you play a song, tell yourself, I'm going to expend maximum effort, like mental and physical effort, to do this. And if you do that as much as possible until you leave, even if you only play like 3 or 4 games, it's going to help a lot. And it's going to make a huge difference doing that versus just like going up and leisurely, like, even kind of trying, but not really. Just 100% effort as much as possible. You'll get the best scores and you'll improve faster. Also, playing Stepmania is really important. This kid Max, in the Philadelphia area, he started playing like 6 months ago. He plays Stepmania all the time. He only goes to the arcade like once every few weeks. He's already passing like 16s and 17s. I think if you're ingesting the chart data, you're getting better. So if you can't go to the arcade, play Stepmania, even if you're not playing it on feet.
Yeah.
This comes back to deliberate practice and setting goals and everything. Like, what helped me, like, if you're walking up to the machine, you're like, oh, like, I might play this, I might do this, like, stop. Like, you haven't set goals beforehand.
Yeah.
And you need to say, like, my goal for today is I'm going to play these 20 songs, which I've practiced extensively in Stepmania, so that they're not sight reads, so that I won't get frustrated, because I already know all of the crap it's going to throw at me. I'm going to play these 20 songs, and of them, 5 of them I'm going to PFC, and I hope to get 5 good, grateful combos on the other ones, or something.
Yeah.
Like, I used to write, like I said, I would print out my DD Recall score sheet, and I would bring it to the arcade, and that way I was sorting by, like, great count. And so I could say, okay, like, I want to get everything down to single-digit greats. And this one I have 10 on. Start off with that. Okay, didn't work? Move to the next one. I have 11 on this. Okay, try to break it down.
Yeah.
So, like, that's being deliberate and setting goals. That like, the more you're, like, kind of floating through your arcade sessions, you're expending money to not actually see that much improvement.
So I think my advice is shorten your warm-up time a little bit.
That's also
That's something I do too.
Start getting like right into hard stuff if you're practicing hard stuff, or actually try to MSC things. Like, go for the songs that you're trying to MSC, or the songs you're trying to PFC, or your songs you're trying to full combo. Because another good reason, you won't get any warm-up time during a tournament.
Yeah.
So shortening your warm-up time is like a good way to maximize your time at the arcade. And it's good practice for when you enter a tournament.
Yeah.
So moving on, because we have tons of questions. Thanks everybody for submitting questions.
Thank you.
So we have Zanzibar is asking about timing. So Zanzibar says, I hover around 92 to 96 on DDR Ace between 14s and 17s, and 80 to 90 on ITG 12s and 14s. He can GFC, but PFCing is really tough. So
Okay.
any advice?
What do you say to that?
Read it one more time. Sorry, I got distracted by the puppy.
So we're talking about timing. So Zanzibar says he can hover around 92 to 96 on DDR Ace. I'm assuming he's talking about score.
920K, 960K,
Yeah. Got it.
probably.
And 80 to 90 on ITG, so 80 to 90%.
Got it.
Mason's asking the same thing too.
Mason also asked, Beth, methods or charts to improve timing. Worked my way up to 15s and 16s, but not a single PFC to my name. Plenty of SDGs, but still can't get past them.
Wow. Can I speak on this one?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely,
I
yeah.
just broke through this. So number one, it's not a bad thing to continue practicing your stamina, because the more stamina you have, the more you can throw into like hitting that arrow on beat. So don't ever be like, oh, I really need to do, like, I need to just play 8s all the time. Stamina is going to help you in the end. This is something that I think you told me. Jeff tells me everything. So I would say, again, warm up with difficult songs, get your body warmed up and ready. And then you should kind of tap into the people that you know that have like a really good score on that Sailor Mercury song. What is that? It's like a 12. It's like a girl with blue hair. You see the back of her.
Kono Aozo Ora no Shita de.
Whatever that was.
Into the blue?
Which is like
Into
a
the blue,
pop.
to the blue sky, whatever you want to call
But
it.
there are like songs that are extremely on beat, that are very straightforward. I'm sure he has like a few that he can throw at you. But the other thing is, go through the old stuff. Start getting the lamps and just start with the 8s and the 9s and the 10s, and you will surprise yourself. If you're getting through 15s and 16s and you have great full combos, if you go through the old folders and you just start playing those 8s, 9s, and 10s, you will surprise yourself and you will PFC something. Like, that is guaranteed. That's exactly what I just went through.
Yeah.
Did you do anything deliberately to work on timing?
My timing always was like just above average. What did I end up doing? my friends just pushed me through it. It was a chaos. John, he was like, we're going to play Let the Beat Hit 'Em. Was that my first one? He was like, we're going to play this one, and I think I flagged it, and he's like, we're playing it again, and then I got it.
Yeah.
Or something of that nature, like, which is a really important thing. Like, please surround yourself with positive people. There are people that will drag you down, so please, like, go for the people that are going to encourage you, give you advice, tell you what you should and should not play. Well, you should play everything anyway, but they can be like, oh, that one's a little bit off sync, don't play that one. You playing those easier songs that people tell you this is on beat, this is a good choice, like these are 5 good songs you can try. Or if you're just like gonna go through the old folders, you'll find a song that you'll be like, oh, I got 3, like I'm gonna play this like 3 more times this trip to the arcade and see if I can get it, and then if I don't get it this time, I'll try it again next time.
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, if you're playing on extreme, then you know the songs that everyone talks about AAAing, like Kind Lady, Freckles, Let the Beat Hit 'Em, stuff like that. And if you're playing on Ace, there's so many songs that are, you know, in the 8, 9, 10 range. And if you don't have a PFC yet, go through a few of those, and it might take a few tries. And by a few tries, like when I first PFC'd Freckles, it took me 50 tries in a row. And sometimes you just got to do that. But like, I wouldn't let it, like, don't let yourself get fixated. But sometimes hitting a goal might take some grinding. Yeah.
And when you get your first one, the other ones are going to start coming really fast.
Yes, as soon as you get the first one.
Yeah, you got to break the wall.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think that anyone should be focusing too hard on like a specific PFC and like playing it 50 times in a row. Because if you, I guarantee you, if you were to play 50 different songs each once, and then you went back to Freckles, you would immediately get that one.
Exactly.
And you'd be much better than if you played Freckles 50 times.
That's probably true.
So like, I don't get fixated in like, I need a perfect full combo to like validate my playing or like my skill as a DDR player or anything. It'll come. A lot of people ask me how to MFC things. Don't worry about specifically MFCing something. Play everything. Get your MA up, and it'll just happen. Yeah. And a lot of what I really liked what you said about playing harder stuff, because a lot of like, it's not like when I'm playing 8-footers and trying to MFC them, I'm not sweating. I am, because I'm expending so much energy into each step. And that's something that I think gets neglected a lot. Like, oh, 18s are stamina, 8s are not. The more stamina you have because you've played 18s, the more you can take that back to an 8-footer and really be deliberate with every single step. A lot of it's a focus game, a mental game, and we want to talk about mental stuff in another episode. But a lot of it is playing very, like, when your foot hits, like, connects with the panel, it's a very deliberate, loud step, and that's, like, it's accurate, and you get a marvelous, and then things just flow in.
Step harder, too, I would say, because you'll notice also during tournaments, people are stepping a lot louder than they usually do.
Yeah, definitely.
Why? It's because it helps with timing. So I'd say step louder, and
unless you're off sync.
Also, focus on form. I don't know if you've ever gotten to watch anybody's form, but that's how I kind of worked on my timing, was watching
other
people's form and like kind of mimicking what they do.
And if you don't have people around you who have good form, there's tons of videos. Watch Jeff's videos, watch Chris's videos. Like, just look at what their feet are doing and do the same thing.
If you do try to work on your form, just realize that it is going to take time. Playing 15s and trying to fix your form is not going to work. You have to reel it back to like 8s and just deliberately fix your form.
Yeah.
Also, beware of, there's so much stuff to talk about here. I just love it so much. Beware of, like, what's it, local minima or whatever. Like, whenever you try something new, you're going to suck at it. And, like, that doesn't mean that you will always suck at that. Like, you will always, like, if your skill is going, I'm going to try to reverse it for the camera. If your skill is going like this, and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to use the bar now because I've never used the bar, you're going to dip a little bit. And then you will come out the other side being much better.
Yeah, like, it's breaking walls.
Yeah, it's very tempting to say, well, I played, you know, max 300 without the bar and I got a 950K, and then I played it with the bar and I got 925. So me and the bar just don't jive. That's not how it works. It's you dip down a little bit if you kept trying, you might get a 975. So just beware of those traps.
Same with playing with thumbs on 2DX, I'd say.
Yeah, I didn't do that for the longest time, and because I sucked at it. Yeah, no. My friend had to tell me, like, use your thumbs. Like, why aren't you using your thumbs? And I was like, because I suck at it, and I sucked for so long. I went back to 7s or whatever. I was on 8s, and then it came out the other side with now I can. I mean, with all their practice involved too, I can do 10s and 11s now.
All right, so I'm going to go through the next couple questions quickly because we're running out of time.
That's fair.
But so Muhammad writes to us on in the chat and says, asking about Endymion. How would you rate Endymion in terms of DDR boss songs? Would you put it in the top 10 boss songs on DDR?
Absolutely.
It sounds really good.
Badass.
Yeah, it's badass.
It's in a weird time signature, which is amazing. It's like 5/4 for a lot of it, and it's got the strings, man. Rabbiton strings. Whoever that people are, I don't know, but I love violins. That song is a banger.
I wonder if it's Yuichi. You think it's Yuichi?
I don't know.
I think he's involved.
I don't I think it's ARM, and with Rabbiton strings, but I could be wrong. I think it's amazing.
Yeah, it's a really good song.
I love it too. I think it is the perfect boss song. It throws everything at you. It's got all different kinds of patterns, different slowdowns and stops and gimmicks. It's great.
I wish all the songs were boss songs.
I'll do a BuzzFeed thing of top 10
top 10
DDR
boss songs. So Jared actually asked us last time, and we didn't get to him, but fits well with the topic tonight. Trying to improve on 17 pluses. Jared's struggling with fast crossovers like New Decade, Tohoku Evolved, and Pararevo, Paranoia Revolution. Should he force himself to crossover, or should he start double-stepping 17s?
Force yourself to crossover.
Force yourself to crossover?
So I've not argued, but I've discussed this extensively with people like Roger, where a lot of people are looking at like Chris's playstyle. And Chris, for example,
he'll double step crazy
Unbelievable, which is 175 BPM. Chris double steps the crossovers. I swear to God, he MFC'd it by double stepping the crossovers.
Oh God!
And then people come up to me and they're like, "Is that a good idea? Should I double step crossovers at 175?" And I say, "Hell no! That's an awful idea." The reason that it's not an awful idea for Chris is because Chris is Chris.
Chris is Chris.
Not only does he have his own way of doing things, but a lot of being good at DDR is learning how to do something in many different ways and then picking which one's best for you. And the more you look at a player like Chris, so there's a little bit of a trap if you look at player like, oh, you want to look at form? Like, look at Chris's form. That's good. But it can also lead you down a bit of a weird path if you're looking exclusively for like Chris's form, because he's learned that he can double step at that BPM because of certain characteristics about himself or how he internalizes charts or any number of things. I can't do that. I can't double step crossovers like he can. But like that's because we both have like tried it a lot, and he's come out this side and said this works better for me than it is worse for me.
Yeah.
And I'm the reverse. So you really can't start double stepping 170 BPM crossovers and just because you see someone good do it. You really have to learn, okay, I need to get to a point where I can cross it over, and I need to get to a point where maybe I can double step it, and then figure out which is more consistent for you. So it's really easy.
Yeah, you got to be able to do both before you can do either of them.
Pick one. That's the problem. It's like people rush so hard into like the picking phase of like, this is what I do now. But you really have to learn why. Like you have to take the journey to get to that like realization before you can make an educated decision.
Yeah, my advice I think is like after you do it, just like think about it, like kind of have a moment of like self-reflection. Did that work for me when I was double stepping, when I crossed over that way? And I think that can go a long way.
Yeah. But the problem is you might dip down.
You might.
So you really have to. It's a practice thing. But I would go for something like for a crossover, do the chart like you would normally do it, like crossover for those. Because Chris also has a problem where if things get too fast, like May, he can't double step fast enough. So again, we're talking about like people like me or Chris or plenty of other people will use these crutches or things that look like crutches to get a PFC on a certain song on MFC, but they don't actually, like you're not actually learning the core mechanic that is then required in future songs. That's a turn mod thing, that's a double stepping thing, it happens a lot.
Crossovers will take a little time.
Yeah, that will take some time.
Not great fun.
I wanted to also mention Alessandro also asked, what would be your suggestions for getting over mental blocks? I keep ruining good runs on a few songs because of some mental blocks.
Elaine, do you have anything? Do you have mental blocks? Do you?
I guess we talked about
million.
turn mods, right? So I think turn mods could
Turn
help
mods are
you.
one way, yeah.
That's one way. I guess, just step away from it for a bit.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I had a mental block with Struggle and with Freeway Shuffle. That took forever. Generally, just step away from it, try something different, work on other things.
Don't get discouraged.
Don't get discouraged. Achieve other things, set different goals, and then come back to it.
Yeah.
That's generally how I get over mental blocks as best as I can. If you keep playing the same songs over and over and over, you're going to continue having those mental blocks and you're not going to get over them. And you will get discouraged.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had success with certain mental blocks that I just had to resolve, like, like the Dynamite Rave jump, the DDR jump.
I was just going to mention
a bunch of other stuff. Like, I think the thing that helps me the most, which I think turd mods kind of accomplish, is putting my body in a really weird and bad position, going into a part where, like, ideally you would be placed properly, right? But just like, something's going to come up, put your body in the complete wrong position to do it. And then when it comes up, you'll be forced to go from that to what you're supposed to be doing, and you'll do something different that
not a bad idea.
that isn't what you were doing before.
I'd like to try that.
And that's what I do.
Yeah.
Experiment. Try to find something. And we're going to have an episode, I think, about mentality stuff, focus, and mental blocks and stuff like that. So look
Stay
forward to
tuned.
that one.
Yeah, for sure.
So Rad Rod on Twitter asks, how can I work my way around having grippy shoes? Been having an issue since he sweats a lot during mid-song and gets sweat on his shoes.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, use a towel. Like, it depends. Everyone's different. I know some people who like sweat on the pads more than others. But yeah, as soon as like sweat starts dripping on pads, I get really sticky and like I can't stream nearly as well. So use a towel, use a headband. But
Usually it comes off the arms, though, I feel like, yeah.
I mean, yeah, for me, like, if I was playing like Love is a Space War like 30 times today to try to see it because I was trying to get something cool for number 600. And
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You just
Oh,
got
yeah.
number 600.
Thank you. I got Somehow You Found Me instead.
That's such a crazy score.
Thank you. But yeah, so if I didn't remember to wipe my head at the end of every try, I would then like hit a jump and like 3 drops would fall from like my forehead.
So Dalton wears a hat. which I think,
Dalton wears a hat or a headband.
That's to keep my hair out of my face.
It might have a dual.
I think it helps with the
dual
sweat too.
benefit.
Yeah,
Or headbands.
hat
Sometimes he
is
does
basically a
he's done
cool
headband.
headband. I think it's a cooler headband.
Anyway,
But yeah, headbands help me actually.
Put on the DDR helmet.
Full
Put on your DDR helmet. Yeah.
I'm locked in.
There's in my hometown, people actually used to go outside where there's the cigarette butt sand things are, and they would put their shoes, they would put their feet on that.
No
rub it
substances
like
and
that.
play surfaces. Unused card available at the front counter.
Yeah, so don't do that. But maybe it'll help. I don't know. Baby powder too. Some people use that.
I just use Windex. Honestly, Windex is nice because
Windex actually makes it a little more slipperier. which is
it's
surprising.
people. It's not intuitive, but it gets the sweat off, which
Yeah.
makes the pads like back to normal.
Yeah, yeah. So here's a fun one. Mr. Craze Dancer on Twitter asks, I have a cute question for y'all. Would you guys ever travel around the country and play DDR or any other rhythm game in all 50 states?
I mean,
By unlimited time,
If-
sure.
So
Yeah,
we know,
absolutely.
the cool thing about this question, I think, is that we know that there are 50 white cabs in the country, right?
But they're not in 50 states.
They're not in 50 states, but
it would be cool to play.
it
on
might
all
be
of them.
fun
That
to
would be
go
really
and play on
cool.
every cabinet.
This is slightly related, but there's actually an area browser.
Yeah.
On if you log into eMuse, there is a little thing where it gives you. It used to be in the game itself, which was really cool, but you basically get a little highlight of every place that you've played DDR Ace or any mix.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So.
It was cool
there-
when this was in 2014.
Yeah, like or back in 2013 for me. I think even in X3 and stuff. So like arcades will set their location of the different prefectures in Japan, and yeah. So if you play, it would like give you like a little achievement of like, yeah, you played here. So
It'd be
there
cool
have
to
been
get all
some
three.
players who have gone to every prefecture in Japan, and then this one guy I know flew to like Hawaii to play, and he also had to fly to Canada because that's on the list now.
I've played on that Honolulu, Hawaii machine.
Yeah, so I just think it's crazy. This guy like got like thousands of retweets because he posted a picture of having every single prefecture and like area that you could play DDR in. He had it.
Was it DDR
Thousands
Koji?
of retweets.
No, it was. No, it was. I actually don't know who it was. I can try to find it, but yeah. So that's like it's actually kind of like a mini goal in the.
I'd like to do it. I think that's
on the site itself.
So wait, there's 50 in the U.S.
There's 50 white. We know that there's 50
White
white
cabs.
cabs in the U.S. Yeah, exactly. So there's a
But there's not one.
constrained supply.
Unfortunately, there's not one in every state. But well,
Not every state.
the way it's counted on
I'm
EMUs is
very into that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if I didn't have a job or any other responsibilities, I would definitely do it.
The summer of DDR. So I Love Tofu on Twitter asks, I'm attending the Irvine tournament on both days.
Awesome.
I don't know whether I should enter the tourney or just spectate.
you should enter. You should enter.
Absolutely
You should enter.
enter.
Yeah, enter, especially since they're charging for spectators.
Yeah,
so that's-
that was just
You
stupid.
might as well just enter and see how far you
Yeah,
get.
enter, see how
never
far you get.
know.
It'll be fun. Ben from Twitter asked, how do you guys deal with injuries? Do you see a doctor? Do you rest it out? Do you do ice?
We're also going to have a
Injury.
physical episode, I think, at some point.
We are going to talk more about that probably, during that one. But I haven't had any bad injuries on DDR, but Chris has had many injuries on DDR.
I don't think anyone on the couch is qualified to give medical advice. Just go see a
That's
doctor and
very
listen to
true.
what they say.
That's
Yeah.
very true. But I mean, I did sprain my ankle, and I didn't realize it was sprained, and I just played through it.
This is one of the hard things
And
about
I-
having DDR as a hobby.
Yeah, and I still
Being
and
old.
that was like maybe 3 years ago, and I still have to wear an ankle brace.
Ooh,
So
yeah.
you should see a doctor. Don't listen to
don't
me.
listen.
It's not about being old. I was going to say that I love DDR so much that I'll play it even though I hurt
Oh,
myself.
that's that too.
Yeah,
I just
that
think a
as
lot of us
well.
are just...
That I stepped on a sidewalk
Yeah.
weird one time, and
Or you could always just play easier stuff.
yeah, take a break, play easier stuff.
Work on that MA.
It's a good way to keep your addiction going. So 2 AIs on Twitter asking a meta question. In the journey from beginner to pro, is it beginner as in can clear 15s, or as in have never played a rhythm game?
I would say have never played a rhythm game. Like this
Yeah.
this advice is not for people who can are already PFC 15s and whatever, and they're looking to PFC 16s or 17s.
This is for everyone.
This is
yeah.
this and
for
this
everybody.
stretches more than just DDR as well. This is good, applicable for pinball. It's
Yeah,
applicable for
absolutely, yeah.
other rhythm games. Like it's for sports, I'm sure. Like a lot of this is just how to get good at anything.
Try really hard.
Try really hard.
and
All the time.
yeah, that's
Breath.
So we're going to wrap up now because we're out of time, but everyone else's questions, we'll get to it in the next episode.
Holy cow.
So stay tuned for episode 7.
Yeah.
So thanks for watching, everyone, and
Thank you for
playing.
playing.
Bye.